Hi, my name's Andy. I'm the Digital Minister here at St John's, and today I'm here with Tim Johnson, our Senior Minister. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Andy. Hey, everyone.
We are just going to have a chat through some of the changes that we've had over the last few weeks in regards to our in-person services as well as our digital service, and give you a bit of an update, just where we're at, some of our thinking, and talking through some of the changes that have taken place.
That's right. Yeah, we just wanted to keep people in the loop because sometimes there's thinking going on behind the scenes, and it's helpful to know where we're coming from. And also people are asking questions about, what about down the track? How much are these changes here to stay, or what's happening? Yeah. So Andy, one of the key drivers, I guess, with the in-person services is the fact that we still have limits on numbers in place. So people know about density quotients. You've got to have, if you've got electronic systems in place to record numbers, you can have 2 square metres per person.
Yeah. So that without those, if you just had pen and paper, you'd be limited to 4 square metres.
Yeah, which is half the number we could fit in the building, which would be really constrain us. So what that boils down to in terms of St John's, which is our largest space, is that 176 people is the maximum, provided we can space people out in the church, which is a constant rearrangement as the numbers grow to do that. So it's really important, I think, to know that we're watching that number and making sure that we can fit people in and that everyone has a place that they can go to. So part of the changes, particularly, people might be saying, how come we're meeting at 10 o'clock and 5 o'clock? It's driven by that number because 176 is actually less than our average attendance, let alone kind of the numbers we'd get on a lot of Sundays at what was the 9:30 service. Yeah. So we're trying to work out, how do we not turn people away? How do we fit people in?
Yeah.
And the thinking with that is, 5 o'clock's a bit easier than 6 o'clock for families and some other people. So coming back an hour might mean people go, I can do that. So rather than coming in the morning, I'll come at 5. We can maybe get more people to come to that one. And then 10 o'clock is to leave space because we're wondering whether we'll need to have an 8 o'clock as well, just to fit everybody in the building. So a lot of it is preparing because we don't know how we'll go in terms of numbers and people coming back. And so trying to manage those arrangements. Now, at the moment, we're sticking just with 10 and 5 at St John's only in February. And again, we're not meeting at St Catherine's and St Michael's at the moment. Much less numbers can fit in those buildings. They're smaller numbers, provided, again, you can have electronic systems in place. It's still limited. But we actually need the larger numbers to try and fit as many people in without multiplying services. So that's what we're doing. So it's all at St John's 10 and 5 for the moment, watching the numbers, potentially an 8 o'clock needed if we have to go there. But Parish Council needs to make that decision. Keep watching the numbers and in their February meeting work out whether we need to make a move.
And I've been sort of thinking about this as a decision for now, that we're saying, as we learn how to do COVID-safe services, as we continue to live in a global pandemic, it's easy to forget that we're not. But, you just have to look at WA this weekend.
Absolutely.
To see, it can change very quickly. But these are not decisions that are necessarily going to be in place for the next 5 years. At this stage, we're looking at February.
Yes, although we are anticipating that density quotient number is going to stay in place probably for 6 months. We don't think this is just going to be, back to as many people as you can cram in the building. I think we've got a longer term game there until the vaccine's rolled out. So we need to be mindful of that, and we need to make decisions that we can sustain and that are ready to respond if things do change suddenly. So a lot of it is actually trying to be wise about how we set things up, and that we've got contingencies in place, which is part of why we're sort of saying we may need to add another service at 8 o'clock. If they went back to 4 square metres, for example, we'd have to reconsider everything, because then we'd be half the numbers allowed, and how do we fit that in?
Yeah, and while 8 o'clock is sort of the next logical progression, if the 10 o'clock service reaches capacity, which It's actually not that far off. Last week we had nearly 140
40 people. Yeah.
That the 8 o'clock becomes the next logical thing. But a similar thing could be said about 5 o'clock. That if that reaches capacity, which obviously we hope and pray that it does, that more people are coming to church, then 5 o'clock would leave us room for a 7 o'clock down the line.
Yep. So there are options there, and again, the larger space at St John's, it means that we only have to have these rigid systems with electronic systems and cleanings in one place rather than spreading it out, but also larger numbers so we can fit people in, and it's part of that ongoing conversation about what do things look like in a new normal. Like, I think we just do need to anticipate the reality that things will change and need to change, and we're open to that, and Parish Council are having conversations about that all the time. Yep. And of course, we're doing something that we weren't doing pre-COVID, and that is the digital service. And we're committed to keeping that going. Some people have said, now that we can meet in person, how come we're still doing digital? There's a bunch of people who have told us that they won't be coming back in person for health reasons, really, again, until further down the track when that vaccine's in place and things are much more normal. And we want to care for everybody. There's also great outreach opportunities that we've seen from digital. So we are committed that we are going to keep doing digital each week for the foreseeable future. And so that's something that we also have added in, as well as these other services. And we see that as that is a service, so
it's a congregation in and of itself.
So we're running 3 services, we'd say at the moment. Our digital service, 10 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and we're trying to minister to, I think we've got about 500 people in our church roll through those different means. Yeah. Andy, last week you started trialling a live stream also of the in-person service. Tell us a little bit about thinking about that.
Yeah, so we saw this need and this desire from some of those people Tim was just mentioning, those people who, for whatever reason, whether that's their own health or that maybe they're in a more vulnerable category, that they're just a bit still worried about COVID, as I said, still living in a global pandemic. And so they're people that would really love to be at an in-person service, but for their own reasons, they've decided to continue watching our digital services. But we thought potentially for very low effort, really, that we could do a live stream of our in-person services. So we tried that on Sunday, and the feedback that I got from the 12 people that opted into that trial was across the board really positive. It's not without its challenges, as we're not sort of having specific volunteers to monitor that stream. So there was a few volume issues and stuff like that, but they're things that will get ironed out as we continue this trial. But it allowed those people, and the most common comment I got was that it was just great to feel connected, even though they weren't in the room. And the way the camera was set up, it was just on the back wall, so you couldn't actually see the congregation.
That's deliberate because we've got privacy, safety issues that we can't be just having anyone on camera.
But even then, it just felt like the responses that I got, said they felt like they were connected to the community. Now, of course, we do hope that people watching the Made for Digital service do feel connected to the community as well. And as we sort of get more into the rhythm of in-person services again, and my hope is that the sort of Made for Digital one, the one that's filmed in this space, will grow and evolve and become a bit more unique in its style and presentation and things. But the feedback was that in-person live stream was really helpful for that feeling of connection. So I'm pretty confident to say we'll continue that for the short term at least. But again, for those privacy concerns and for people who have indicated that they're happy to read the Bible, up the front, but not if that's going out on YouTube. For that reason, we'll be keeping it as a private stream. So if you want access to that, you'd need to get in contact with myself or the office, and we'd sort of add you to that list of people that have access to it. So it won't be publicly broadcast available on our YouTube channel like our Made for Digital ones are, but it'll be accessible at the time of the service, at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings. It'll be accessible at that period to watch, but that's it. You won't be able to catch up later.
Now, Andy, you keep using this phrase, made for digital.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, sure. So I would say that this video that we're doing right now is made for digital.
We're looking at the camera.
We're looking at the camera. We're trying to make eye contact with that as much as we can. And we are aware that there's an audience out there that we don't necessarily know. That's you watching it. So that's how I would categorize a made for digital piece of content, whether that's a video like this or a Sunday service, that it's someone who is directly engaging with the camera and with the people watching at home or wherever they are.
It's like what people were getting during the lockdown period.
Exactly.
Because it was made specifically in that way.
Yeah. And then we have our in-person services as well, which are vastly different to engaging with a single camera. You're engaging with the up to 176 people in the room with you. And what we learned over lockdown is that it takes a lot of effort to engage well with a camera. And so, I know Tim and the whole preaching team and service leaders and stuff did a lot of work over last year to learn how to engage with a camera. There's difference in your style, in your presentation mannerisms and things like that you just don't do when you're talking to a room. And the trick is, and the real difficulty and the reason that we've stuck with a made for digital service is that trying to do both is really, really hard. To both engage the camera and a whole room full of people is to do it both well, it's nearly impossible.
And with all of this stuff, we'd love to hear feedback. If you've got thoughts, get in touch with us. The best way to do that is through the website, stjohnsdc.org.au. You can fill out a Connect card. Let us know where you're at in terms of are you coming back in person, are you staying on digital, and thoughts that you have about anything that we've talked about in regard to our services.
Yeah, those cards go straight to the office staff. So if you did need to ever get in contact with us, that's the best place to do that. And it's just as we're wrapping up now, Tim, it's just a good reminder that whatever we're doing, whatever we're trying to learn and how we operate these worship gatherings, it's all because we love Jesus. We want to know him and we want to make him known. So that's our focus. Even though there's lots of organizational stuff and due diligence and all that complexity, the foundational reason that we're doing any of this is to help people get to know Jesus better.
Yep, that's all that other stuff serving that purpose. That's our driver. That's our aim. That's what we're all about. Yep.
Well, thanks for joining me, Tim.
Thank you. Thanks Andy.
For everyone at home watching, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Thanks.